Hi, and welcome back to Irish Literature. It's about time we got to a female author! Yay! Today we are going to look at Elizabeth Bowen. Bowen was born in Dublin but moved to Hythe, England in 1907 when her father became mentally ill. Her mom died in 1912, and so Bowen went to go live with her aunts. She went to art school in London and then married Alan Cameron in 1923, but apparently it was never consummated. But she did have several extramarital relationships. It was during this time that she wrote The Last September. Bowen made frequent visits to Ireland and started reporting on the situation there for the British Ministry of Information during World War II. Her husband died in 1952 and Elizabeth inherited Bowen Court, where many writers visited, including Virginia Woolf. She had money troubles though, and eventually had to sell Bowen Court and move to Hythe. She developed lung cancer in 1972 and died in 1973. Today we are going to be talking about her novel The Last September. In a preface, Bowen explains some of the context for the reader who might not be familiar with the time that this novel was taking place in. This book is set after World War I, when there is a revolution in Ireland against the English occupation. The Irish felt that because they gave so much in World War I that they deserved something in return from England. One of the biggest themes throughout the novel is that of national identity. This can be best epitomized in the characters of Mr. and Mrs. Naylor. They are not particularly active throughout the novel, but they best frame the question because they themselves are Anglo-Irish. Their families came from England a while ago, but they themselves were born and raised in Ireland. They are stuck in between the two identities. Throughout the novel, they waffle. They never really pick a side. They sympathize with both. This tension of identity and opposing nationalities is also portrayed through the character of Gerald as an English soldier. We never see him kill anybody, but it is assumed because he is a soldier. The reader only sees him interacting with Lois in a romantic setting. Speaking of Lois, she is sort of the main character. She is the constant thread throughout the novel. This novel could be considered a female Bildungsroman. Throughout the novel, Lois is trying to figure out who she is. She is not an adult, but not a child anymore either. Lois wants to define herself and not be defined by people around her. She is also very self-conscious of herself when she is in front of others. And she is tied up with the idea of being real or an illusion, such as when she accuses Gerald of not knowing who she really is, saying, "I think you have illusions of me." And at the end of the novel, she wants somebody to really see her. There are also generational conflicts between the more modern young people and the older, more Victorian generation. You can see the intrusion of the modern generation in inventions like the gramophone. I also want to talk a little bit about love as a theme throughout this novel. We can see from Lois's perspective that she doesn't really love Gerald, but she feels like it's an obligation. We can see an instance of this when he comes into her house and sweeps her into a passionate kiss, and from Lois's perspective, she is logically thinking about, isn't it strange how when two people kiss their lips together, and she's thinking about this while he is passionately kissing her. There's also Lois's odd fascination with Hugo Montmorency, the family friend who she knew when she was a child. It's a little creepy, but thankfully he does not reciprocate, at least outwardly, and she eventually lets all that go, thank goodness. There's also a lot of foreshadowing of death in this book, especially Gerald's. There are repeated descriptions of him looking like death, or him entering the armored car that digests him, or him exclaiming that he would rather be dead. And, surprise surprise, at the end of the novel, Lois and the others get the news that he has been shot through the head. The ending is very abrupt, with the last couple pages dedicated to a summary of what will happen to everybody. Spoiler, it all burns down in February. That is the last September they will ever have in Ireland. The Irish nationalists would have burned down the Naylors' estate because they would have wanted to get rid of any vestige of England. And since they were Anglo-Irish, they had to go. I hope that helped a little bit. This is the fourth and final video of the literature aspect of these Irish videos. I hope these were helpful, and I hope you enjoy reading the books.